friends, it's Andrew from the blog Pine and Prospect Home, and with spring around the corner, I thought it might be fun to do a post all about faux stems and how you can make them look more real. Now, let me just point out the fact that I love real flowers. I think that they're beautiful when things are blooming in my yard in the spring. Absolutely, I love to bring in the lilacs and all the things, hydrangeas. But if you don't have those plants in your yard, you have to go buy fresh flowers, and they can become expensive. And if you live in an area like I do, where your grocery store doesn't carry a beautiful variety of flowers, then sometimes it's nice to have some good faux on hand that you can use for decor. So I want to share some tips with you guys today. I've already done a blog post on some of my favorite faux stems and where I've purchased them. I'll put a card here for that one. It's an old video, one of my very first videos here on YouTube. But you can check that out if you'd like. But I have like 4 or 5 tips that I want to share with you today whenever it comes to purchasing and styling faux stems and putting faux arrangements together. So my very first tip for you whenever you are decorating with faux stems is to take your stems that you purchase from the store and just bend them a little bit. So let me give you an example. I've got this pretty arrangement behind me, and I picked these really pretty stems up at Hobby Lobby just recently. Like, I'm gonna stab Isaiah in the face, just last week, okay? But they were very, very stiff when I purchased them. Like, they went straight up and down. So I just take the stems and I just kind of give them a little bit of bend, just like that, a little bit of whimsy, because if you look at real plants, if you were to clip stems like this off of a bush in your yard and you put them into a vase, they would kind of flop over, and they wouldn't be perfectly straight like faux stems generally are. So that's my first tip for you. Whenever you bring them home from the store, give them a little bit of bend and whimsy. Don't just stick them in a vase the way that they are. As is, I guess I should say. So that's my first tip for you. All right, my second tip for you whenever you are decorating with faux stems is to use filler. And actually, I'm gonna go right back to this, because these pretty stems that I have here, all on their own, they just look like this, which is pretty. No, I'm stabbing myself in the face. This is pretty, you know, pretty on its own, but if you take some filler, and by filler I just mean some green leaves, if you go to like a Hobby Lobby or a Joann's or a Michael's, they have an entire section of just the greens. And the moment you stick some filler in, these stems just pop even more, and they become so much more realistic. So you can see the difference there by adding some greens, how pretty that is. And it really helps these to pop, and it just makes it look more realistic, in my opinion, when you have those green leaves. So that's my second tip for you. Look for filler. Another favorite filler of mine, set those down for a second, is this pretty eucalyptus that you can get. There are so many different variations of eucalyptus, and I had a friend actually send me this, and she no longer has her shop open. But if you can find some eucalyptus, this makes the most beautiful filler, and especially the seeded variety looks really realistic. I don't know if you can see that. Here, let me see if I can get the camera to focus. There we go. So if you can grab some eucalyptus, that just makes your flowers look even more beautiful. Let me show you another example of that. All right, so I just recently picked up these really pretty flowers at Hobby Lobby, and I think these would look beautiful all by themselves, honestly, in a little jar. But watch the difference when you throw in a little bit of green. So let's just kind of add those in. How beautiful is that? And of course you could stick some right down the middle. And look at the difference that makes by adding some filler to your stems. That is absolutely gorgeous. So I just think that by getting those greens and those fillers to add to your faux flowers, it just gives life to them. They look so much more beautiful. I mean, how pretty is that? And these white ones, by the way, I picked up at Hobby Lobby, if you're wondering. I wish I had a source for the eucalyptus, I don't. But I just think that by purchasing those greens as filler, your plants become so much more realistic. So enough on that tip. I think you guys get the point, but it's just really, really important. I try to do that with all of my flower arrangements. In fact, I have another arrangement right here in the corner. You can see how much more beautiful they are by adding some extra filler in there. So I hope that makes sense. I think you guys got the point. Okay, so my next tip for you whenever you're shopping for faux stems, and I think I said this in the other video too that I linked, is to avoid picking anything up that looks too plasticky or waxy. When it looks like that, it just, in my opinion, it doesn't look very real. Try to avoid that. Also, I try to avoid flowers. You'll see this a lot, like if you go to the Dollar Tree. Nothing against the Dollar Tree. I love the Dollar Tree for a lot of different things. And sometimes I've even picked up some great filler there for flower arrangements. But a lot of times their leaves on their flowers, they look frayed, like the fabric is fraying, and that's a dead giveaway. So you pay more money for the more realistic looking flowers, but they last a lot longer, they don't fall apart, and I think that they are worth the investment because you can use them for many, many months throughout your home when it comes to decorating. So I try to avoid those things whenever I'm shopping for flowers. Now, here's another tip for you. If you are going to use a clear vase, this is something that I see sometimes people doing, and I just think it kind of is a dead giveaway whenever you're using faux flowers. For example, let's go back to these stems. By the way, look how straight these are. Going back to my first tip, I would probably want to just give these a little bit of a bend. I could maybe even open up these flowers a little bit more too, just to kind of spread them out. So whenever you purchase flowers, just bend those stems a little bit. But this stem is very, very long. You can see how long it is. And I think that if you were using a jar, for example, like this one, okay, you could very easily just bend the stem, just like this. I just bend it, okay, and then stick it right inside of your jar. I'm sorry, I keep looking at the camera to make sure you guys can see what I'm talking about. But if you're using a clear vase, I would not do that. I would try to clip the bottom of your stem, because if people see this kind of stuff going on inside of your vase, then that's just gonna be that's gonna show people that those are fake flowers. Which, if that doesn't bother you and you don't care, you know, then whatever. But I like to make my arrangements look more realistic. And so if I'm going to use a clear vase, I would just clip the bottom of this with some good wire clippers so that you can't see all this bendy stuff happening. And obviously I'm a blogger. Photographs are a huge part of my blog and my business, so maybe I'm just a little bit more picky about stuff like that than the average person, but that's another tip for you. Whenever you're using something clear, like in this jar, for example, everything has a clean cut. There's no bending going on inside of this jar. So that's another tip that I have for you guys. Now, some of my favorite sources for real stems, some stems that I'm really loving right now, I just thought I'd share them with you. I know that in a couple of years, this video may no longer be relevant based on what's available, but I'm really loving, obviously, I enjoy looking through stores like Hobby Lobby, Joann Fabrics. I don't go into Michael's as much, but I see a lot of people finding great stems at Michael's as well. All of your general craft stores are gonna have a great arrangement of faux flowers. One of the reasons why I like Hobby Lobby is because they generally have discounts. They'll do 50% off florals, and that's a great time to go in and invest in some flowers and some great filler. for your vases and containers around your home, and you can save a lot of money that way. But really all of those stores, even Joann Fabrics, I've signed up for their text messages, and you can do like 40% off with a coupon or whatever. So take advantage of those sales in order to save some money on faux flowers. Another stem that I'm really loving right now, I believe it's like a Queen Anne's lace, and it's from Target by the Hearth and Hand collection, and I love this particular stem. I just picked up a few more. Let me grab it and show you. So here are the stems, and I just picked these up at Target recently, but they are so beautiful, and I think that they look so realistic. And obviously I love anything that looks like English country style. And this, to me, I mean, this grows all over the place where I live too. Not yet, we still have snow and ice all over the ground. But this is just a great and beautiful option for your home if you love, waking him up, I'm waking him up. If you love that type of filler, it's so, so pretty. So I would highly recommend this stuff. I've got a couple bundles throughout the house, and it already has some great filler on it. That's another thing that you could look for whenever you're purchasing flowers. See if it already has some good leaves and greens already on the stem. And that to me just, it looks so beautiful. So that's a favorite stem right now that I like to use. And then also, another thing that I wanted to share with you guys. I do not have personal experience with this, but I have seen a lot of my friends purchasing flowers on Amazon. And I don't know if you guys have seen like those Real Touch tulips. Some of my friends have shared links for those on Amazon, and I will share the link for you as well. They look so beautiful and so realistic, and with Easter around the corner and spring, they would be so beautiful in a vase next to your kitchen sink. So I'll put a link to those too, because I've been seeing those a lot lately. People have been sharing them. Some of my close friends have highly recommended them. So that's another option, is to check out Amazon for flowers. I know that's kind of tricky when you're purchasing something online. You don't know whether or not it's going to look as great in person, but thankfully, we can read reviews and see how things are rated nowadays, and so that could be helpful too if you don't have access to some of these stores that I'm talking about, which I do not. I live an hour and a half away from all of these stores, so when I go to the city, as we like to call it, we try to take advantage of that. But I hope some of these tips helped you guys today. I love decorating with faux flowers just because it's a great it's a great way to bring spring into your home when it's still kind of winter outside. We a lot of our snow melted recently, but we're supposed to get another storm actually tonight, and so I think it's nice to have some faux flowers when you're ready for spring, even though it's not quite springtime outside. So hopefully this video gave you some tips and helped you guys out. But personally, I cannot wait until the real flowers start blooming and we can bring those inside the house. That's my favorite time of year. So if you are new to my channel, I would love you to hit that subscribe button, and I will have a blog post that goes along with this video so you can see some of the tips over on my blog as well, with photos for reference. So be sure to head over there. It means so much when you guys visit my blog, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.